Hey, how's it going, friend? Juan Pablo here from 100% Finance. In today's video, I'm going to answer some questions using my iPad that relate to how to be an out-of-state investor, especially where property management is concerned. Stay tuned. Alright, so let's dive into it. So one of our subscribers on the YouTube channel, by the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so you can get our notifications. And comment and like if you find value in this video as well. But getting back to the point that I was making, one of our YouTube subscribers commented and asked a question about how do you manage a multi-unit property out of state? Because I assume he's familiar with my story in the book that I wrote, Quit Your Day Job, in which I outlined that I was an out-of-state investor, an absentee owner in other words, where I lived in the New York City area and I invested out-of-state in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So starting out, just to share with you my history, starting out I thought it would be best for me to outsource property management to a company. It never occurred to me that I can self-manage a property out-of-state. That's not a 30-mile radius from where I lived. You know, driving from the New York City area to Pittsburgh, PA was about a 5 or 6 hour drive if I can remember. So it's a good drive, right? Good hike. But you know, I was first initially thinking about investing and having a property manager do all the day-to-day operations, such as answer phone calls from the tenants and coordinate repairs for contractors, things like that, leasing, evictions, all that good stuff. So I hired my first property management company. And with the first company, I wasn't receiving money for the water bill. In most states, if the tenant or the owner doesn't pay the water bill, whoever's it doesn't matter, right? If you don't pay the water bill, then they can place the water company, they can place a lien on the property. So the tenant was responsible for the water bill because it was a single family property, and the tenant was responsible for her own utilities. So she's paying the rent to the property management company, so the property management company is happy because they're getting their commission, right? However, the tenant wasn't paying their monthly water bill. And I'm receiving notices in the mail from the water company saying, hey dude, you're the owner, so you gotta pay this. And so I'm reaching out to the property management company and say, hey, the tenant's not paying the water bill and it's really racking up. They're in arrears and we gotta do something about this. What do you suggest? I suggest that we evict the tenant because I don't know what other options we can entertain at this point because they're really behind on the water bill and I'm receiving notices, scary notices about placing a lien on my property, on my investment property that I work hard to obtain, right? And the property management company said, you know what? We're going to have a meeting about this and we'll get back to you soon. Click. They reached out to me in 17 days. I will never forget. Another month went by. Another water bill notification came into my mailbox letting me know that, hey, this person still didn't pay, and guess what? The amount that's due is even larger. And guess what? You're getting closer to that deadline of us placing a lien on your property. And I was furious. So when they reached out to me, they said, okay, we discussed this as a company, property management company, we'll start the evictions. So once they finished the evictions of evicting this tenant, guess what? I evicted that property management company. I said, you know what? I'm not moving forward with having them manage my property. So then the property is now vacant. So me still being an out-of-state investor, I said, well, I need another tenant in there. Maybe I should hire a different company. So I hired a different company and the guy sent me, he's actually a mom and pop property management company. They weren't as big as the other one. He was just self-managing, more of a freelancer. He was a real estate investor and he managed properties on the side. So I said, okay, cool, let me try a different approach and reach out to this guy. He's a real estate investor, but he's really a wholesaler. So he wholesaled and he did property management on the side. So I said, you know what? He wholesaled me a deal before, let me just work with him to manage the properties. So we struck an agreement, got it in writing, signed off on a contract. And then he sent me an invoice saying that, hey, I owe him a commission. And I was shocked by that. I said, the property's vacant. How do I owe you a commission if the property's vacant? Because typically how it works, guys, is that the property management company receives a fee or a commission if the property is occupied. So it incentivizes that property management company to fill that vacancy. So I was pretty shocked. I had the invoice in my hand, and I'm thinking, what is this for? And he said, well, Juan, if you look on page 2, article 3, line 8. So even though he was a mom and pop property manager, dude was definitely smart. He had his contracts on point. To the point that I should have had mine on point. I should have reviewed it, right, with an attorney, because I didn't know. And so I looked at the contract and I said, by golly, he's right. This language says I still owe him a property management fee even if the property is vacant. And then it hit me, well, what incentivizes you, property manager guy, to fill this vacancy quickly if you're still going to get your commission regardless of your performance? So hey, we need to cancel this contract. Okay, cool. It takes 30 days cancellation policy. The dude had to figure it out. So even though he didn't fill that vacancy, I paid him 2 months of property management fees, even though he technically didn't manage the property or occupy that vacant property with the tenant. So I was pretty much stuck, right, between a rock and a hard place. Meaning, well, do I want to entertain another property management company, or is it possible for me to figure this out with me being remote? And then I thought for a moment, do I really need a property management company? Is it really possible for me to fill this vacant unit remotely? Well, I do have a contractor, and the contractor is doing some repairs after that one tenant got evicted, right? Doing some slight repairs. So maybe, just maybe, while the contractor is there doing some finishing touches on the property, I can schedule showings, group showings at the property. And just give the contractor a heads up that, hey, there will be potential tenants, prospects in other words, that may be interested in this property. So while you're working, don't mind them. Just do me a favor. I email him some rental applications. Hey, just print a couple copies out. Of course, I'll reimburse you for the cost. Place them on a kitchen table with a pen, and have them sign, those that are interested. And just tell them if they have any questions about the unit, if it's in relation to the property, meaning, like how many bedrooms, how many baths, you can answer that. But if anything that's above your pay grade, pretty much that you just don't know, tell them to revert back to me. And so I will put a Craigslist ad, just saying, hey, I have this 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath property, Section 8 is great. These are all the details about the property. And if you're interested, we have showings Tuesdays and Saturdays at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays and 10 a.m. on Saturdays. So I do a group showing. And with the contractor being there doing work, then I realized that, hey, I was able to get some good traffic to see the property. And being at this competition, right, if I'm a potential tenant and I see like 4 other people there, it may incentivize me to take action fast and actually try to complete that application, pay my security deposit so I can take this unit off the market. And that's what happened. So it ended up working. Now you might be thinking, well, Juan, what if the contractor is not there and what if there's no repairs that need to be made? Then fine, I'll pay the contractor hourly for his or her time. Just to babysit the unit and then be a tour guide. This is the kitchen, this is the living room, these are the steps upstairs to the bedroom. Very simple. Or you can always hire an agent. Because an agent, they have some agents, they'll actually lease the unit for you. And they just charge them 1 month rent as their fee. So you don't have to pay them an ongoing commission for managing the property. So that was one small change that I implemented that helped me lease units out of state. And of course, I had a lockbox, and then I got smarter. Well, do I really need a contractor there? Do I really need an agent there? If I just have a lockbox, can I just let the tenant in and out? Maybe. So I had 3 different options with leasing a unit or showing a unit to a potential tenant. And it made me focus on creating systems and scripts to the point that by the time a potential tenant saw my ad and got to the property, all their questions were answered. They were only there at the property just to see the unit, and that was it. Everything else was documented. All the processes were outlined. They knew exactly all the steps that were needed for the selection process, meaning I got to verify your landlord, your current employer, and all that good stuff, background check. Everything was pretty much simplified to the point that I would have them move in and just let them know that, hey, I'm the property manager. I never told them I was owner, even though I was, just so I could have like a degree of separation. And then say, hey, I'm the property manager. If you have any concerns, reach out to me. And of course, I have other people on my team, so I might have a different contractor go there or a different person go there just in case we need some repairs or anything of that nature needs to be done. And they were perfectly okay with it. Very simple. So that goes with scheduling repairs too. As I shared, you gotta have a contractor on your team, and you wanna make sure that you have some eyes on the property. So being that you're remote, or me speaking upon myself, I was remote, I had to ensure that I had boots on the ground. Not just one person, but multiple. Because of course, you might have your go-to contractor, but he may have a big job down the line. And you know, it's all respect. He may say, hey, no respect to you, Juan, but this job is really paying. I got this big job I have to do. It's a big project. It's a full rehab. I really don't have time to do this small little repair or to be present at your property to show a vacant unit to a tenant. Hey, I understand. I'm fine with that, right? But I will make sure I will have other people on my roster to be the boots on the ground, and I would train them and educate them and teach them on how to do their job. It's as simple as that. So can it work? Yes, it can work, but it does require you as a property owner, meaning it does work for you to actually manage properties out of state. It does require you to have your systems and teams in place, which means you have to stop treating real estate investing as a hobby, or as a landlord, you being self-employed, meaning you're the one showing the unit, you're the one picking up the phone, you're the one who's evicting the tenant, showing up to court, you're the one doing all these other things, but you have to outsource it. So that may raise another question. Not to sound too long-winded, because I want to give you everything, but just two key things, because that's the biggest question I get asked, right, on these comments. How do you lease units, and how do you evict the tenants? How do you do that remotely? So one of the ways I do that remotely, the eviction process, is I will hire a contractor or someone who's boots on the ground, and what I'll do is I'll make sure I keep documentation. So let's take that tenant, for instance, who was due the water bill, who had the outstanding water bill. I would document every conversation, every notice, every transaction. That I reached out, no response, reached out, they cussed me out, reached out, they said, no, I'm not paying it, or give me a partial payment. Everything was documented to the T. To the point that I would just say, hey, contractor, you want to make some extra money? This is what I need you to do. Fill out this paperwork. I will fill out the paperwork remotely, because I will just send a check and the eviction paperwork to the courthouse. So I don't need to outsource that. I just did that remotely. So once I receive a letter back from the courthouse that I have a scheduled date for the evictions, then I would just say, hey, contractor, for example, here's what we call a statement of accounts, which is pretty much a document of every little thing, every correspondence that I have with the tenant. As I share conversations, amounts due, notices received, eviction proceeds, and so forth, all documented. To the point that the contractor, who may have zero experience with evictions, he's not an attorney, he's not a paralegal, he's none of that, right? And he's just a guy who may sling a hammer, right? Not to talk lie of what he does, but just to share that he has no knowledge or experience in law, right? But he would just receive the statement of accounts via email, tell him to print it out. Of course, I'll pay for the printing fees. And he would just read it to the judge line by line and let the judge decide. And pretty much I will win those evictions simply because everything was documented, organized, and presented to the judge. Now, if you're interested in getting started in multi-unit investing, because I know that's a big constraint for some, well, yes, I want to invest in multi-units out of state, but I have some apprehension. I have reservations. I have fears, Juan. I fear that the property may be mismanaged. Hey, I'm speaking from experience. You can definitely triumph over this, you can overcome it, but you got to make sure you have the right blueprint to follow, the right systems and the right teams. So if you're interested in learning more, just check the links below. We have a great amount of information for you to help you along your journey of becoming a financially free and independent multi-unit investor. Right here, baby, at 100% Finance. So check out the website below. As always, guys, it's to your success. If you like this video, please share. Peace!